Hello students, this is Manjunath Puja working as assistant professor in computer science department. Today I am here to give you the idea about the DBMS lab assignment company database. According to the Elmasri and Nawate textbook, most of the concepts in that particular textbooks explained with an idea of or with an example of company database. This example they had explained clearly in the Elmasri and Nawate textbook, and they have taken that company database itself as a lab assignment for a course. So you people have observed this list of the tables in the textbook, that is company database. In the chapter number 3, data modeling using entity relationship model. From that particular chapter onwards, most of the concept in the textbook they had explained with this company database only. Now we will see the idea behind this particular company database and what are the questions, the queries they had asked related to this particular assignment. As the database maintains the information or the data about the company, normally the company is having the information about the employees who are working for that company, and in every company we're having the departments, followed by every department is situated at the different locations, department locations, and in the company normally we are having the projects, and those projects normally employees works on the list of projects. Okay, basically here we are having totally 5 tables which they had listed out to maintain the data about the company. We will see this particular company database now step by step. First we will see employee. As the name itself says, this table maintains the information about employee like SSN, that is social security number, followed by name, address, sex or gender, salary, then supervisor of that particular employee, followed by the department number for which an employee works for. Then after that we are having the information like department. In the department, as usual, we used to maintain the information about department number followed by department name, and manager for that particular department followed by manager start date. These are the details about department. Then we are having the table by the name department location. In that, as the name itself says, every department is situated at different locations, followed by we are having the project. In that, they are trying to maintain the information about project number, project name, and the location of that project, and the department that is controlled by that particular project. Last table is the works on. In that, we are able to get the information about which employee works on which project and the number of hours an employee works for that particular project. This is the information they are trying to maintain the company database. Again, in every my lab assignment videos, I used to say, in order to understand any particular scenario, first we are expected to understand the entity relationship diagram, ER diagram for that particular scenario or the case study. Okay, so again for this particular assignment also we are supposed to look into the ER diagram. So now let me show you the ER diagram. So this is an ER diagram for the company database. Even this idea they had given in the textbook also. For quick understanding, I'm showing you this particular ER diagram. So totally in our assignment we are having around 5 different tables, and those all 5 tables are actually in the ER diagram is represented in this particular way. So among those list of the tables, 3 are identified as an entities here, that is employee, then we are having the department, then we are having the project. For the employee, so in ER diagram, in most of my videos I used to say in ER diagram 3 concepts are important: entity, attribute, followed by the relationship. Entity, it is nothing but a real world object with physical or conceptual existence. Attributes are nothing but properties that explains the entities or the properties that are associated with an entity. Then relationship, it is an association between 2 or more entities to give us the new information. So when we look at the 5 tables, so when we look at this ER diagram, we can clearly understand, as I always used to say, first we are supposed to draw an ER diagram, then later we are supposed to map that ER diagram to the table structures. But in our lab assignments, they had given already the table structures. According to the table structures, we are going in the reverse way. By looking at the tables, we are going to draw an ER diagram. But in practice, remember, first we are supposed to draw a ER diagram, then later we are going for mapping of this ER diagram to the table structures. But anyhow, by looking at the tables, now we have drawn this particular ER diagram. In the tables, we have seen only 5 tables are there. But in the ER diagram, you can observe, so 3 entities: employee, department, and project. So this we can easily identify. Employee, this entity is a real world object with a physical existence with the properties like employee name followed by social security number, salary, address, sex, that is gender. Then again, when it comes to the department, we are having department number information, department name followed by department location. Again, project is having a project number, project location, project name. And in these entities, some attributes are key attributes. Here in employee, we are having SSN, which is underlined, that is the key attribute. That is nothing but primary key in the tables. In the department, we are having the department number. In the project, we are having the project number. So these are the key attributes. Here, one more thing we are expected to observe is here the delocation. Delocation, which is represented with the two oval shape, that is nothing but it is the multi-valued attribute. So when in ER diagram there is a multi-valued attribute, that time it is not possible to show that multi-valued attribute directly into the table structures. Then how we are going to represent a multi-valued attribute then? Okay, so multi-valued attribute is represented as a separate table while mapping the CR diagram to the table structures. Because of this, as you can observe here, department location is the multi-valued attribute. In our table structure also, here we are having a separate table. Here you can observe in the separate table, DLocation, department location, is as usual the multi-valued attribute. It is associated with the department number, that is the foreign key which is referring the department table. As a rule of table, we cannot store more than one value for the particular attribute. So in order to store more than one value, we are supposed to have a separate table for that particular multi-valued attribute. Because of that, we are having the department location as a separate table here, as it is the multi-valued attribute. So now this is what we have identified with respect to the entities and attributes. Next important part in this ER diagram is here you can observe 5, say, supervision, controlled, managers, works on, and controls. So totally we are having around 5 different relationships. This is what an important part in this ER diagram. Okay, so now we will have a look at this particular relationship. Between employee and department, we are having the two relationships. You can observe here employee and department. And in most of my videos, I used to say we cannot show the foreign keys in the ER diagram. Okay, so here you can see in this particular case, supervision, SuperSSN, is a foreign key in the employee table, and department number is also foreign key in this table. So as you can see, that particular information, SuperSSN, is not represented here, as well as the department number is also not represented here, because that is actually in the ER diagram there is a relationship. Here you can see supervision information, that you are able to observe that supervisor information here as a relationship. So employees, totally we are going to have the list of employees. Among the list of employees, one of the employees are going to act as a supervisor, and because of that the relationship is established with the same entity. See, here you can see employee associated with the employee only. This type of relationship we call it as a recursive type of a relationship. That means relationship is established with the same entity. There is an association with the same entity, and that relationship we call it as the recursive. So here you can observe employee, for which there is an association with the same entity, there is an employee. In this, when there's a recursive relationship, that time we need to specify role name also. Here you can see, here there is a supervisor and here it is a supervisee. Why this information is required? Because in this list of employees, who acts as the supervisor and who acts as the supervisee. So at one stage we are supposed to show supervisee, and at one stage we are able to show supervisor, and according to that only cardinal ratio we are going to represent. See, here one employee, he can supervise many employees. Okay, so this is what the meaning. One employee, that's the one supervisor, he can supervise us obviously more than one employees. Okay, but from when it comes to the supervisor side, one supervisor cannot be supervised by more than one employee. Okay, that means if I am an employee, that time I am able to be supervised by only one employee. That means there is only one supervisor for me. We cannot have more than one supervisor for the same employee. By keeping that in mind, this is what the cardinal ratio. One supervisor, he can supervise many employees, but one employee cannot be supervised by more than one. Because of that, cardinal ratio is 1:n from supervisor to supervisee. And because of that, as n is to the same entity, because of that we are able to get the foreign key in the same table, employee. So you can see, observe this, the employee table here, SuperSSN, that is a foreign key which is referring the same table, that is a SSN. Okay, so this SuperSSN actually gives the information about supervision. Okay, supervision. Okay, so now next again we will move ahead with the next idea in the ER diagram, that is employee and department. Between these two we are having the information about controlled by. That means controlled, one department is controlled by more than one employees. Okay, so that means you can think in other way. Instead of, as I told you in most of my lab assignments, we can give any kind of the names to the relationship. Here they had given the relationship name as the controlled by, but in your textbook the same relationship is given name as works for. That means one employee works for one department, and one department, in that more than one employee is going to work. Okay, that's what the meaning controlled by, or you can give other name for this particular relationship as works for. Okay, so one employee works for one department, whereas one department in which more than one employee is going to work. Okay, so here one more thing you are supposed to remember: one employee works for only one department, he cannot work for more than one department. This is what you are expected to clearly understand. So now again, for this case also there is a cardinal ratio 1:n. So now according to the cardinal ratio, where the n lies for which particular entity side, there we are able to have a foreign key. So here you can see one department controls the many employees. You can call it as a controls, or one department is having more than one employee. So the meaning is same. So as n lies at the employee side, that time in the department, this key attribute is going to access the foreign key in the employee table, and that is the case in case of employee table. Department number. Okay, department number in employee table, it gives the information about the controlled by, or you can call it as the works for information. So both are going to give the same meaning. So now this is about the second foreign key in the same table, employee. Okay, so next information is about managers. Okay, one employee manages one particular department. One employee manages one department, or one employee manages more than one department also. But when it comes to the department side, one department is managed by only one employee. Okay, so here I would like to make it one more point very clear, that it is all depend upon the case study or scenario for which we are actually designing it for which actually we are going to design in database for. Okay, so according to this particular case study, okay, so here one employee is going to act as a manager for more than one department, but one department is managed by only one employee. In this case, again 1:n cardinality ratio is there. Again, n lies at department side. So according to the rule of cardinal ratio, where n lies, there we're going to have the foreign key concept. And because of that, in the department table, again you can observe, in the department table we are having the manager SSN and manager start date information. That means these two columns are going to give the information about the manager details, which employee manages which department. That means one employee can manages more than one department. Because of that, the role that is played by the employee, here we are given MGR, that stands for manager SSN. That's the SSN of the manager. Here the supervisor SSN. That's what this, as the column name itself says, what kind of a role that is going to played by this particular SSN. So now this is about the second, the case in the department, the manager SSN is the foreign key. So now we had observed the three relationships: supervision, controlled by, managers. According to this relationship and cardinal ratio, we had observed the foreign keys in those respective tables. Now coming back to the another two relationships. Here you can see there is a relationship between department and project. One department can control many projects, but one project is controlled by only one department. I repeat, One department, it can control more than one project, whereas one project is controlled by only one department. Again, in this case also there is a cardinal ratio 1 is to n. Okay, when 1 is to n is there, one department can control many projects. So n lies at project side. Again, we can observe in project there is a foreign key, that is department number. So now we will have a look at again in the table structure whether it is there or not. So here you can see in the project table we are having the information about department number. The meaning of that is one department can control more than one project. Here this department number gives the information about which department controls which project. Okay, so now coming to the last relationship, that is works on. Here you can see works on is a relationship between employee as well as a project. One employee works on many project. One employee works on many project. One project for which many employees are working. So when we read out the relationship from both sides, we are able to get the cardinal ratio as 1 is to n from both sides. When 1 is to n from both sides, that time the cardinal ratio is going to become many to many. Many employee works on many projects. So many projects in which many employees need to work. Okay, so from both sides we are able to get the information about that. And because of that, when the cardinal ratio m is to n is there, obviously this relationship we are going to map it as a separate table, and because of that we are having a separate table for works on. Now you can see works on is the separate table as it is the m is to n cardinal ratio between the employee and project. See here you can see SSN is the foreign key and project number is also foreign key. So that is this employee works on this project for about these many hours. Okay, one employee works on many projects, one project for which many employees are working. This is the number of hours that is worked by that particular employee. So now by looking at this all table structure and ER diagram, anyhow we got some basic idea about this company database. Now by getting an idea, as I told you here, the department location is the multi-valued. Because of that we're having a separate table. So department location. Okay, so now we got to know why these all tables are represented in this way and what kind of the information every foreign key is going to give. Because unless until we see the ER diagram, we are not able to get the meaning of why these foreign keys have been included in each table. Okay, so now with this basic idea, again we will move ahead with the creation of the tables and inserting records into the table. So according to the questions what they had asked, we are supposed to look into the inserting the records into the table. So now you can see here they had mentioned the Scott, that's the last name of an employee, Scott. We require information in the table such that this Scott should work as a worker and he should work as a manager. So we need to enter the records in the table such that they should be employees who work as a worker as well as a manager. Okay, so then only we are able to get the output for this query. And again show the resulting salaries if every employee working on the IoT project. That means we need to give a name of a project as an IoT, so that we're able to get the output for this particular query. Again, one more requirement is the accounts. Okay, as the requirement is the accounts, so again we are supposed to give the name of the department as the account, and the last one you can see department location should be Dharwad. Okay, we should make an entry in the table such that the department location should be Dharwad. Okay, so by looking into the queries what they had asked, so we are supposed to enter the records into the table in the same way. So now getting back to the table structures. So first we will create the tables. Let me open that particular MySQL. So in the MySQL from the WAMP server, just open that console. So now, okay, so the console has been opened. Okay, so now we are creating the new database by the name create database company. So the name of the database is the company. So we are expected to use this company database for creating the tables and all within this company database. So now again we start with the creation of the tables. Okay, so one rule we are expected to follow is among this list of the table, which table is the base table or the primary table. Okay, so here When we look at the employee table, in the employee table we are having the two foreign keys, SuperSSN and department number. Department number, which is there in the department table, this table is not yet created. Unless until we create the department table, we cannot make it as the foreign key. Again, when we look at the department table, we are having the manager assistant. Again, it is not possible to create the department table unless and until this employee table has been created. Here, this is the cross referencing is there. When cross referencing is there, then we cannot add some fields directly during the creation of the tables. We need to add those columns at later stages. Okay, so why? That as I told you, it is not possible because as there's a cross referencing of the tables. So let me show you that particular idea. First, I'm creating the table by the name department. I'm creating the table by the name department. In the department table, I am skipping one particular column, that is manager SSN. Okay, so here you can see we are having the information by the name manager SSN. Manager SSN is the foreign key which is actually referring the SSN information. So as this table is not yet created, I am skipping this particular column. I am going to add this column at the later stages. Okay, so this is the rule. As these two tables are cross-referencing with each other, it's not possible to add that column directly. So with that, I have created the table by the name this. In this particular table, department number is the primary key, department name, and manager start date. I had skipped manager SSN. Now I will move ahead with the next table by the name employee. Here you can see, so I'm able to create the table by the name employee. So let me show that demonstration. So now I'm creating the table by the name employee. Okay, so here the employee. So I have created the employee table with all columns. Okay, so here SSN, which is the primary key, first name, last name, address, sex or gender, salary. Salary, here you need to observe in the salary I am going to give it as the decimal 12,2. The meaning of this is total number of digits are 12 and there's a decimal point after the two digits. So 10 digits of 9.99. This is what the information. So then SuperSSN is included as this is referring the same table. Here you can see the two columns are going to act like a foreign key. So these are the two columns, that is the SuperSSN which is referring the same table and department number which is going to refer the department table. Okay, so these two are the foreign keys. Now I have created the second table, that is this. Again, so as I told you, during the creation of the department table, we had skipped one column, that is manager SSN, as the table employee is not yet created during the creation of the tables. Now I'm going to add that column with the help of alter table commands. So now I'm adding that column to the table. Okay, so now I have added the column, that is manager SSN. So this column has been skipped during the creation of the table department. Now I have added that column because now we have created the table by the name employee. So as this manager SSN is referring the employee table. So now we have created the two tables successfully, department as well as the employee. So now again we will move ahead with the next table, that is the DLocation which maintains information about department locations. So this is also another simple table, as this table exclusively designed for storing the information about the department location and department number. In that, department number is the foreign key which is referring the department table. Here we are having the department number and department location. By combining these two columns, I'm to make it as a primary key. When two or more columns included to make it as a primary key, that time it is going to become the composite key. Composite key is the primary key which includes two or more than two columns, which is used to identify the records uniquely in the table. So now again I will move ahead with the next table by the name project. So project, we are going to create the table by the name project. So let me show you the creation of the table project. Okay, so we have created the table by the name projects. In that, project number, project name, location as usual, department number, and department number is the foreign key in the project table which is referring the department table. So next again we will move ahead with the work zone table. In the work zone table, again we are having the two foreign keys in that particular table. Two foreign keys in that table. Okay, so I have added SSN and project number, these two as the foreign keys. Along with that, SSN and project number togetherly I made it as the primary key, so that these two columns togetherly help us in identifying the records uniquely. and because of that we call this as the composite key. Okay, so now we have created all 5 tables successfully by understanding the idea behind that. So next again we will move ahead with the inserting records into the table. So now I'm inserting the records into the table. So here you can see now I'm inserting the records into the table. So 2 tables records I'm inserting directly to, so that I can save my time. So here you can see I'm adding the records into the table. Okay, so now I have added the records into the 2 tables, that is employee, select star from employee. So now you can see in the employee table SuperSSN information is now empty, as well as the department number is now empty. Both details are empty while adding records into the table. Here you can observe we had skipped the 2 columns information during the adding of records. You can see insert into employee, I'm just specifying which columns data I want to add. So SSN, first name, last name, address, and sex or gender, salary. Only these 5 columns, these 6 columns I want to add during the inserting of records. So I had skipped the 2 columns information, that is the department number as well as per SSN initially. So because why I'm not adding the department number over here is because I have not added department details first. So now here I have added the department information here, and because of that, as now I have added the department information, now I can update this employee table with the super SSN, that is who is the supervisor of that particular employee, as well as the department number. So our next job is to add that particular details, that is with the help of update command. As the records have been already inserted in the tables with a null value, now our job is to update those particular columns whose value is null with a proper meaning. So now here I had given the note, that is update the entries of the employee table to fill the missing fields like super SSN, department number. With the update commands, now I am updating the information of that particular employee table. Here you can see, so as initially it was null for these 2 columns, now I am updating with those 2 columns with a proper meaning. So here I have added the details. So now let us see that particular table information. Now you can see clearly. So SSN, first name, last name, address, sex, salary, super SSN, department number. So now the meaning of this is employee RNSACC01. Here you can see ACC meaning is department name, accounts, CS is the CS department, and EC is the electronics department, IS is the information department, IT is the IT department. According to that only social security number has been given. There is a 2 employees who are working for accounts department. So here you can see 1 1, this is the, these 2 employees are working for the accounts department. Even I'm just wanted to show department details also so that I can get an idea. Department. Okay, so in the departments you can see there are totally 5 departments, 1 2 3 4 5. So first department is the accounts, second department is the IT, third department is the EC, ISC, and CSC. Totally 5 departments. Okay, so now you can see the first 2 employees are working for accounts department. Okay, so now CSC totally around 6 employees are there who are working for CSC department. That is the 5 is the CS department. So that means CS department is having the 5 employees, 6 different employees. Like that, we are having the different employees for every department. For EC, we are having only 1 employee. For ISC, we are having only 1 employee. For IT, again, we are having only 1 employee. This is about which employee works for which department. This is what this column is giving that information. Here, Super SSN. This is the interesting RNSACC01, RNSACC02. These are the 2 employees. For the RNSACC01, for this employee, the supervisor is RNSACC02. As only 2 employees are there, he is going to become the supervisor for the first employee. That means the same employee is going to supervise this employee. Okay, that means RNSACC02 is the supervisor for this employee, RNSACC01. Santosh is going to supervise Hana. And for this second employee, we do not have any kind of the supervisor, as only 2 employees are there. So this is the case. Now coming to the part of the remaining employees, CSC, we are having the different supervisors for every employee. That means RNS CSE, he's going to supervise RNS AC01. This is going to supervise this. This is going to supervise this. Like that, we have added the information for every employee or respective supervisor. Whereas the remaining cases, some employees are not having any supervisors. Okay, as these EC, IAC, these all are having individual employees, so there's no question of supervisor. So that's why these all are initially null. Okay, so this is what the meaning of this particular table employee. Again, coming to the department table, so this going to maintain the information about department details, whereas here you can see RNSAC account 002, he is going to become the manager for the accounts department. That is second employee. Santosh, no doubt he's going to he is a supervisor of this employee. Along with that, Santosh is also a manager for accounts department. And RNS IT01, that is Nagesh is a manager for IT department. And RNS AC01, that's John is a manager for EC department. Like that, RNS CSC05, that is Girish is a manager for the CS department. This is what the information of employee and department tables. So now again, so we will move ahead with the next tables, adding records into the next tables. So again, I will add directly the records into the tables so that we can save the time. So here I'm adding the details. Okay, fine. So now I have added the details in the three more tables. So let me show you. The first one is the DLOCATION. So DLOCATIONs, in that DLOCATION. Okay, so in the DLOCATION, as the department location, department 1 is situated in Dharwad, department 2 is situated in Dharwad, 1, 2, 3 departments are situated in Dharwad, and 4, 5 departments are situated in Mangalore. This is the department location. Next we will move ahead with the project. In the project we are able to get the information about project number, project name, project location, followed by which department controls that project. See, you can see 100 to 107, nearly 8 projects are there with the project name IoT to the smart city, and these are the locations of these all projects. Bangalore, followed by 5, department number 5, CSE department controls these 3 projects, and again 1 controls these 2 projects. Like that, every department controls one or other projects. According to that, we have added the records into the project table, and the last table is the works on. Last table is the works on. Last table is the works on table. So in this tables, you people are able to get the information about which employee works on which projects. Here you can see RNS ACG01, 02. These two are the employees. They are working for the project number 105, 104, and with the number of hours as 5 as well as 6. RNS ACC01, he works on the project 104. 104 is nothing but bank management, and he works on that project for about 5 hours. That is what the meaning of the second employee. RNS ACC02, he works on the project 105, that is the salary management, as these two employees are related to the accounts department. That's why bank management and salary management, and they are working for the respective projects 5 and 6. Like that, same thing. These are the remaining employees with the different projects with different number of hours. Now we have inserted the records with the proper meaning associated with every records. Our next job is to look into the queries. Okay, so the first query, make a list of all project numbers for the project. That means we need to list the project numbers that involve an employee, whose last name is Scott. This is what the condition they had given, and that last name is Scott, and that Scott last name, he may be a worker or he may be a manager. That means we want to display, he might be a worker, he might be a manager. Irrespective of that worker or manager, we want to display that project details. Okay, so with the last name as the Scott. Now in our table, first we need to look into the table. Employee, because the first condition is we need to look at the last name of the employee as a Scott. So now in our table, here you can see this is an employee table where the last name of an employee, that is a Scott. Here there's also last name of an employee Scott. That means we have the 2 employees with the last name Scott. For this Scott, we are having the name of the employee as Edward. For this Scott, we are having the name of the employee as John. Edward Scott as well as the John Scott. These two are the employees, Edward Scott and John Scott. Okay, so among these two employees, again we need to understand who is the worker as well as who is the manager. So to get the information about the manager, again we need to look into the table. Again we need to look into the table department. In the department, Edward Scott SSN is RNS CSC03. We do not have RNS CSC03. That means Edward Scott is not actually the manager. But whereas John Scott here RNSCC01, RNSCC01, yes, he is the manager. He is the manager for the AC department. So among these two, one employee is a manager and one employee is a worker. That idea we get to know. Okay, so next our job is to what, to identify whether this employee, which are the projects these employees are actually working for. So next again we will move ahead with the project table as well as the works on table so that we get an idea about that. So first we will look at the project table and the works on table. Okay, so in the works on table, in the project table we have the information of project. In works on table we have the information about the project for which an employee works for. As we are having the two employees with the information about the Scott RNS CSC03 and RNS EC01. We need to look into these two tables. RNS CSC03, RNS CSC03. Okay, he's working on the project that is 102. Okay, so then again we are having RNS ECE. He's working on the project 103. Okay, so now RNSEC is working on the project 103, RNSCSC is working on the project 102. So that means in our output we are expected to get an output as 102 and 103 as an output of this particular query. So now we are supposed to refer these four tables to get the information about that particular project number, that is 102, 102 as well as the 103. This is what the required output for this query. So now here you can see, first I'm going to show you the part of that query. Here this is the part of the query so that you people can get an idea. Let me show you the first part of the query. Okay, so now you can see here I'm just displaying the information about the project number. So as we are referring the three tables information, that is the project and department as well as the employee. So we are referring these three tables. Here the project.d number and d.d number and the d.MgrSSN and e.ssn. This employee and department, these two tables actually gives the information about whether that employee Scott is the manager or not. Because of that we are referring department table and employee table, these two combined here. So we got that information, that is RNSEC01 and RNSEC01. So when we combine these two information, we get who is actually the manager. Obviously RNSEC is the manager. So the first part of the query actually displays the employee with the manager information. So obviously the Scott, there is an employee with a manager, that is obviously 103. So just now we have seen RNSEC 103. This is the manager, he's working on the project 103. Okay, so this part of the query actually verifies whether that Scott is a manager or not. Next part of the query is actually going to check whether he's going to worker or not. So the next part of the query, this will verify his worker or not. Again I'm going to show you next part of the query. So now here you can see a slight modification is there. Here there's a project number, P number. These two are the tables with the information of project number is the common field. Here you can see e.ssn.w.ssn. That means this will gives us the information about whether he's a worker or not. E.ssn and w, that is a works on. So now by looking at this column, we get to know that is an employee is a sorry, employee is actually a worker or not. Obviously, employee with a Scott, the 102, 103. What actually this is going to give the information is we are having this RNSCSC03, RNSCSC03. This is also a worker, and RNSEC01. This is also a worker. So these two are actually the workers who are works on the particular project. So RNSCSC03 he works on 102, RNSEC he works on 103. So now These two are again workers. Because of that, we got the output as project numbers as 102, 103. Okay, so our question is, he might work as a worker or he might work as a manager. Because of that, we need to combine these two with a union operation. Union combine these two and it will display the output, that is 102 and 103. So here we had included the union operation of these two queries. So when we combine these two queries with the union operation, we simply get the output as 102 and 103. So now let me show you that particular information. See, now this is what required output for our query. So Scott with the manager or Scott with as a worker. So project numbers are 102, 103. Okay, so this is the query. So now again we will move ahead with the next part of the query. Okay, so show the resulting salaries if every employee working on the IoT project is given a 10% raise. This is very simple query where we need to just display. So we are not supposed to update any information. We just we are supposed to show that the salaries of an employee who are working on the IoT project, it should be incremented or the 10% raise. Here 1.1 into employee salary. So this expression I had already shown in you in the previous videos. There you can get that particular information. Employee name, last name, and if we have incremented 10% raise has been given for that particular employees who are working on which project, obviously IoT project. So employee information we're able to get with the help of employee table. In the works on table we're able to get the information about which employee works on which project. So that's why we are referring totally three different tables to get these three field information, and this is the alternative name for 1.1 into e dot salary as increment salary. Okay, so now as three tables are combined, so employee and works on these two are having the common field as SSN. So because of that we have taken the condition e dot SSN equal to w dot SSN, and works on and project, these two are having the common field as WP project number, and our required question is condition is IoT project. So according to that we had included all this. So now when you executed this, so before that I want to show, before this I want to display the first table, employee. So in the employee, then works on information, then project information, so that you get to know who are the employees working on IoT projects. So IoT project number is what? 100. IoT project with this information 100, by taking we first condition is IoT. So with that we are able to get the project number information. By taking this 100 we are able to get to know who are the employees working on that particular project. 100. Okay, so this is an employee RNSCSC04, and this is also an employee RNSCSC01. 1 and 2. These are the two employees who are working on the IoT project. So RNSCSC01, RNSCSC04. For these two employees, now initially we need to see 01, what is his salary? This is the 5 lakh is the salary. RNSCSC04, this is the initial salary. Okay, so now when we increase the salary of this two employees by 10%, then obviously it has to grow. So initially it is a 5 lakh, here it is initially 6.5 lakhs. That's now we will see output. When we execute that query, obviously the result of that query should increase the salary of those employees. Now let me show you that. Okay, now you can see these are the three employees. Now with the three projects they are working on the IoT projects, and their salaries I just now I have shown you, that is initially 5 lakh, it is after the increment, so we got this 10% raise. Okay, so this is what the required output for that query, 10% raise. Next, and the query is find the sum of the salaries of all employees of the accounts department as well as the maximum salary, minimum salary, every salary. We need to compute the sum of the salary, maximum of the salary, minimum of the salary, and average of the salary for which department? Accounts department. Okay, so now we require only two tables information, because let me show you. Select star from department, because our first condition is they want accounts department information. Then we, let me show you the employees table information. Okay, so now in the accounts, Okay, account number is accounts department number is 1. With that information, I'm coming to the table employee. Here you can see 1 and 1. Okay, so for department number 1, we are having only 2 employees, so only these 2 employees. Okay, so now what is the question? Find the sum of the salaries of all employees of the accounts department. That means sum of the salaries. That means we need to combine these two, 3.5 lakh and 3 lakh. By combining these two, obviously 6.5 lakh. That is the sum of the salary. Then our next question is what is the maximum salary of that particular department, minimum salary of that department, and average salary. So in these two, maximum salary is 3.5 and minimum salary is 3, and average of these two again we need to compute. This is what the required output for this. As to get the output of this, we are supposed to refer these two tables, employee and department. In these two tables, the common field is what? That is department number. So that's why we had taken the condition as d dot department number equal to d dot department number, and the condition is d dot dname is for accounts. As we are referring only these two tables, so this is the query. So when we execute that query, so we will get an output as we will get output as a sum, max, min, and average salary. So this is an expected output for that query. So now last part of this query, that is also very simple. Here create a view. View, it is nothing but virtual table. I had given explanation for this virtual table in my previous lab assignment videos also. View, it is nothing but virtual table, and virtual table idea is we need to store the complicated queries result into the virtual table, so that when we want to get the output of that particular complicated query, there's no need to remember that query every time. We just use that virtual table name to display the output of that query. So here the what is the requirement? We need to create the view virtual table for what? With the columns department name. That means virtual table should contain information about department name and department location. Okay, so display the name of the department located in the Dharwad city. So that means that query is also very simple. Again, for this query, what is the department name and department location? So first I will display two tables. So select star from department. So as we need the information about department name, then followed by we need the delocation, which department is located in the Dharwad. So that we are able to get in the delocation table. So in order to get the output for this query, so we are supposed to refer these two tables. So we need department name and we need department location. As these two tables are having the common fields as department number, so we have taken that as the condition. Select DName DLocation from department D DLocation L, where D dot department number equal to L dot department number, and condition is DLocation. So if we execute this query without creating the virtual table, so we get the output like this. Okay, so this is an output, but actually our requirement is what? We need to create a virtual table for this particular query. So as usual, virtual tables are created with the create view virtual table name. I'm going to give it as dept underscore location, name of this particular virtual table. Okay, what actually this particular virtual table is supposed to store, that is the output of this query. So I will now I will copy and paste. Okay, so this query's output should be stored in this particular table. Okay, so now here you can see you are not getting, or you are not seeing any kind of the output over here, because the query's result is stored in virtual table, that is department location. Now if I want to see the output of this query every time, there's no need to remember this query. Simply I just execute like select star from dpt underscore locations. Okay, this is the simple. So this is what the last and final assignment. Okay, so if you find any difficulties in understanding this particular assignment, you can contact me. Okay, so every time, so when you people execute the assignment with the help of this any command prompt console, try to store the result of the execution in any notepad, so that we can refer that at later stages. Copy it and paste it in any text file, so that it is easy for you people to refer. So I'm storing the execution of this particular query in text file, so that we can later it. Oh, then this is the company MySQL execution. So store that result in the notepad. So these all results are stored, which can be used at the later stages. Okay, so now with this I conclude my session. Thank you.